Chapter 12. Consideration of the essential and the non-essential in the worship. Ever the devoted seeker of divine knowledge approached his father Brahma with a heart full of reverence and curiosity. "O dear father," he began, "you are indeed blessed, for your mind is constantly fixed on Lord Shiva, the greatest of the gods. You have witnessed his boundless grace. But father, please explain once more in even greater detail how one can truly serve him and attain liberation." The Creator, seated upon his lotus throne, nodded solemnly. He recounted a significant event from ages past, a time when the worlds and heavens were in dire need of guidance. "I once summoned all the sages and gods to a grand assembly. Knowing that they sought eternal happiness, I lovingly told them, if any of you seek permanent bliss, if you wish to conquer the cycles of sorrow and joy, then come with me to the shores of the milky ocean where Lord Vishnu resides." The gods, eager to find respite from their worldly sufferings, followed Brahma to the sacred abode of Vishnu. Upon arriving, the gods and sages, filled with devotion, bowed low before the preserver of the universe. With hands folded in reverence, they prayed to Janardana, the lord of the gods. Vishnu, seeing them gathered, remembered the lotus-like feet of Shiva and addressed them with love. "Why have you all come here, O Brahma, and all you celestial beings?" Vishnu asked, his voice gentle yet powerful. "What troubles you? Speak to me, and I shall listen." Brahma, serving as the voice of the assembly, replied, "O Vishnu, great protector of the worlds, the gods wish to know how to remove their miseries. Whose worship should they undertake regularly, so that they may be freed from sorrow and achieve lasting happiness?" Vishnu, the ever-compassionate, smiled upon hearing this. He looked at Brahma and the assembled deities and said, "O Brahma, you have already heard the answer, but I shall repeat it for the benefit of all. There is only one whom you must worship to end all suffering. The great Lord Shiva, the destroyer of all miseries. He is the one who must be honored and served." Vishnu continued, explaining that this truth had been revealed to him by Shiva himself. "Shiva told me personally, as he did to you, that he alone is the refuge for those seeking liberation. His worship shall never be forsaken by those desiring happiness, and you all have witnessed the consequences of neglecting him." Vishnu reminded the gods of a dark episode in cosmic history, when the sons of Tara, powerful beings driven by delusions, abandoned their devotion to Shiva. Enchanted by my Maya, they forgot their allegiance to Mahesvara. Without the protection of Shiva's grace, they were all destroyed, their strength and wisdom rendered useless. Such is the fate of those who forsake the worship of the Supreme. Brahma, filled with awe, then shared how the Devas, moved by Vishnu's words, knelt in humility and requested sacred liṅgas to ensure the fulfillment of their desires. At Vishnu's command, Vishvakarma, the celestial architect, crafted liṅgas of various materials, each suited to the stature and nature of the deities. Indra, the king of the gods, was given a liṅga made of ruby, symbolizing his strength and leadership. Kubera, the god of wealth, received a golden liṅga. Dharma, the embodiment of righteousness, was gifted a liṅga of yellow stone, while Varuna, the god of oceans, took a dark blue liṅga. Vishnu himself chose a liṅga of sapphire, while Brahma took another of pure gold. Each god received a liṅga that reflected their nature and power. The moon, ever cool and serene, chose a liṅga of pearl, while the fiery god Agni selected a dazzling diamond liṅga. Even the great Naga king Sesa, who supports the worlds on his many hoods, received a coral liṅga. Brahma continued, explaining that the deities worship these liṅgas regularly, understanding that by doing so they maintain the balance of the universe. The mode of worship was explained by Vishnu himself, and I returned to my abode, filled with joy, to teach this sacred knowledge to the sages and gods. Brahma then elaborated on the importance of worshipping Shiva. Human birth, dear devas and sages, is rare and precious. Even more so is being born into a family of good conduct. For such fortunate souls, the greatest duty is to worship Shiva, for he is the source of all blessings. He reminded them that the worship of Shiva need not be limited to grand rituals. The sacrifice of penance, Brahmā said, is far superior to ritualistic sacrifices, and even greater is the sacrifice of Japa, the repetition of sacred mantras. But greater than all is Dhyāna, the sacrifice of meditation. Through meditation one attains true knowledge, and in that knowledge Shiva himself manifests. For those who had not yet attained the mastery of the mind, Brahmā encouraged the worship of the gross, external liṅga. He who has not yet mastered the subtle liṅga of the mind must worship the gross liṅga. Through this external worship, they will gradually cultivate the inner strength to meditate upon the subtle liṅga within. Brahmā further explained that even those who are not yet realized benefit from worshipping Shiva in his gross form. Just as a lotus, though standing in water, remains untouched by it, so too does the true knower of Shiva remain unaffected by the bonds of the world. Until one attains this level, the worship of the gross liṅga must continue. He also addressed the nature of true knowledge, explaining that those who realize the unity of all things in Shiva are no longer bound by rituals. Once you know the supreme truth, the difference between the worshipper and the worshipped disappears. Everything becomes an expression of Shiva. However, for those not yet enlightened, the worship of idols and liṅgas serves as a ladder, a means to ascend to higher spiritual realms. The idol, Brahmā said, is the stepping stone to the realization of Nirguna Shiva, the formless, infinite aspect of the divine. Worship leads to devotion, and devotion leads to knowledge. In conclusion, Brahmā emphasized that the worship of Shiva should never be neglected, for in serving Shiva, all other gods are automatically pleased. Just as watering the root nourishes the entire tree, so too does the worship of Shiva ensure the well-being of all beings. Thus, with a heart full of devotion and reverence, Brahmā passed on the timeless wisdom of Shiva's worship to the gods and sages, knowing that through this sacred practice, the universe would continue to flourish under the grace of the Supreme Lord.